suicide.
Exactly. And just to set the stage right off the bat, there's a surprising detail. The Department of Justice, they recently made this definitive statement on the Epstein files.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
But as we'll get into, the whole situation is far from settled, especially maybe for the people who were pushing hardest for transparency in the first place.
It's remarkable how this deep dive lets us explore all these layers. It's so complex, isn't it?
It really is.
We're not just, listing facts. We're trying to get beyond the surface stuff, understand the deeper implications, the questions that just hang there, especially around all those powerful connections he seemed to cultivate.
Like a giant messy puzzle.
Yeah, like looking at a shattered mirror, maybe trying to see the real picture, or maybe realizing there isn't one single picture.
And what a puzzle. I mean, just recently we saw the DOJ, Pam Bondi was the one delivering it.
Right.
Saying quite definitively, nothing to see here, no client list, and that Epstein definitely killed himself.
Pretty clear statement.
But what's really striking is the timing. It came exactly 6 years to the day after Epstein's arrest back on July 6, 2019 at Peterborough Airport.
Wow, 6 years on the dot. That feels pointed.
It's a bit too perfect, maybe.
It's quite a moment, especially when you think about the political side of things. People like Kash Patel.
Former Trump admin guy.
Right. And Donald Bongino, the commentator. They were really loud voices demanding these files be released, weren't they? Often framing it as, proof of some deeper conspiracy.
Totally. They wanted the list, the secrets.
So now they're kind of, hoist by their own petard, aren't they? They demanded the release. The DOJ says nothing here. And they kind of have to accept this official line that they previously distrusted.
The transparency they wanted sort of backfired on their narrative.
Seems like it, yeah.
And this is where Michael Wolff's personal connection just gets wild. He reveals Epstein actually called him to set up breakfast for the morning after his arrest.
Wait, after he was arrested, he was calling to schedule breakfast?
Yeah. Can you imagine that? The normalcy.
Yeah.
Or maybe just sheer overconfidence.
That's something else. And that wasn't even the last contact.
No. Wolff got one final message from Epstein, passed through a lawyer, just hours before his death on August 10th.
What did it say?
Just still hanging around.
Wow. Chillin'.
Wolff said it was classic Epstein dark irony, especially because there'd been that alleged suicide attempt shortly before.
Right, I remember that. It speaks to a certain detachment, maybe, even right at the end.
So this gets us to the big question about his death. Wolff, he acknowledges the official finding, suicide, but then he says he doesn't believe Epstein could have killed himself the way they described.
Physically, you mean? Breaking his own neck.
Exactly. But then he also says he doesn't think Epstein was murdered because, his words, those people don't keep quiet.
So he doesn't believe the official cause, but he also doesn't believe the main alternative theory.
Right. It's this baffling contradiction from someone who is actually in the loop somewhat. What does that even tell us?
It just screams ambiguity, doesn't it? The fact that Wolff, an insider with that kind of access, his final take is basically, I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's not just admitting you don't know the facts. It feels like a statement on the whole mess. Maybe the truth is fragmented or deliberately hidden.
Maybe unknowable.
Perhaps. It suggests that even for people in his orbit, the full picture just wasn't there, which kind of fuels all the speculation, obviously. It tells you there probably isn't one simple answer here.
So, okay, if his death is that murky, Wolff's insights also pull back the curtain on the weird political angles, especially on the right.
Yeah, that tension was strange.
There was all this focus, these conspiracy theories about Epstein, often pointing fingers at Democrats, right?
Yeah.
Bill Clinton, Larry Summers.
Heavy focus there.
While often seeming to, skate over potential Republican connections.
Well, and understanding Pam Bondi's role is key here, according to Wolff.
The one who made the DOJ statement.
Right. He basically describes her as functioning as Donald Trump's lawyer. Not really an independent AG.
Taking instructions.
Yeah, it takes instructions from the White House. Wolff contrasts her with even Jeff Sessions or Bill Barr, who at least sometimes tried to project independence. With Bondi, Wolff suggests there wasn't even that pretense.
Which definitely colors how you might see that DOJ statement.
It adds context, for sure.
And speaking of Barr, here's a detail from Wolff that is just, wow. He calls it the stuff of which conspiracies are made.
Okay, what is it?
Bill Barr's father. He was the headmaster at the Dalton School.
The prestigious school, yeah.
And he was the one who hired Jeffrey Epstein, a high school dropout, as a teacher there.
Wait, Bill Barr's father hired Epstein at Dalton.
That's what Wolff reports. It's kind of an incredible connection, isn't it? Does Wolff dig into that beyond just calling it conspiracy fuel?
He mostly presents it as this really striking coincidence, another layer to the whole enigma. But the real bombshell from Wolff, the thing that really shifts the narrative, is his claim about Trump.
Okay.
He asserts that Jeffrey Epstein's closest relationship in life was with Donald Trump.
Closest relationship. Not just friends, but closest.
That's the claim. Not casual, deeply intertwined, lasting about 15 years. Wolff says they did everything together.
Like what?
Like hunting women, sharing at least one girlfriend, even Epstein advising Trump on how to cheat on his taxes.
He advised him on tax cheating. Wow.
Wolff puts it bluntly, they kind of loved each other, brothers in arms.
That's staggering, especially given how Trump has tried to distance himself publicly. How does Wolff explain that shift or the falling out?
He does. Apparently the friendship ended in 2004. And the reason? Surprisingly mundane, almost petty.
Not the lifestyle stuff.
No, a real estate deal in Palm Beach. Epstein bid $36 million on a house, showed it to Trump, asked for advice.
Okay.
And Trump apparently went behind his back and bid $40 million for it himself, snagged it out from under him.
Seriously. Over a house deal.
Wolff pinpoints that betrayal as the exact end of the friendship, despite how close they supposedly were before. Shows how things can turn, I guess.
Which then makes Trump's reaction later, when Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested, even more interesting. Wolff says Trump got very wary.
Understandable.
And even asked advisors if he should pardon her, and then publicly called her a very nice woman.
Right, I remember the nice woman comment.
It really seems like for Trump, the whole Epstein topic is, as Wolff puts it, a third rail. Just too dangerous to touch directly.
Absolutely. And this all leads to Wolff's really stark observation about the two of them.
Yeah.
Two men living, quote, similar lives with the same interests, girls, money, not working. Yet one ends up dead in the darkest prison in America, and the other ends up in the White House.
That contrast is profound.
Yeah.
And deeply unsettling.
It really is.
Okay, so beyond the politics, the powerful friends, maybe the biggest enigma of all is just Epstein himself. Like, where did the money come from?
The fundamental question.
Wolff really emphasizes this, calls it a central mystery. He even suggests that maybe all the focus on blackmail and client lists. There might actually be a way to avoid this harder question.
Like a deflection.
Maybe. Because the money source is just so opaque.
And it's really striking to hear how Epstein himself supposedly explained it to Wolff. It's chilling and kind of darkly ironic.
What did he say?
He said, I run a reverse Ponzi scheme.
A reverse Ponzi? What's that?
Well, Epstein explained, a normal Ponzi makes money that doesn't exist seem like it does. He said, I make money that does exist seem like it doesn't exist.
Hiding assets.
Exactly. He gave Wolff this specific example. A rich guy going through a divorce, Epstein helps him hide, say, $100 million. That saves the guy maybe $50 million in the settlement.
And Epstein takes
half the savings. So $25 million in that example, just for making the money vanish.
Wow, so he's like a financial ghost profiting from making Wolff disappear.
That's the picture Wolff paints. A master of that dark art.
And with this hidden wealth, he funded those infamous daily salons, these ongoing discussions, packed with, quote, people you might want to meet.
Held in his huge Upper East Side house, supposedly the biggest private home in Manhattan.
Sounds less like a party and more like curated access. A performance.
Absolutely, according to Wolff. And the list of people he mentions attending is just staggering. It's so diverse, so high level.
Like who?
Okay, get this. Bill Gates, Peter Thiel, Larry Summers, Ehud Barak, Steve Bannon, Joe Ito from MIT, the CEO of Barclays, Prince Andrew, Leon Black.
An incredible mix of tech, finance, politics, academia.
And then, maybe the most surprising, Noam Chomsky and the Dalai Lama.
Chomsky, the Dalai Lama at Epstein's house.
Wolff says he personally met both Bill Gates and the Dalai Lama there. It just shows the unbelievable breadth of people Epstein somehow drew into his orbit, the access he had.
So what were these salons actually like? Wolff called them always extraordinary, providing incredibly valuable information, discussions about public policy, world events.
Sounds very high-minded.
Was it just intellectual chat or was there more going on?
Well, Wolff does mention another element, which is obviously unsettling in hindsight, the presence of young women. He described them as sort of fluttering around the edges, functioning as assistants or maybe even just room decorations. Importantly, he says they weren't central to the actual high-level talks.
How young did they seem?
He said he never had any sense that these girls were younger than they should be, but added they weren't old, meaning like in their 20s.
Okay. And did Wolff see any sign of, the stuff Epstein was later accused of?
Yeah.
Filming, blackmail.
He says no. No evidence of filming or blackmail observed. He stressed that the attendees, these powerful people, they came willingly. They actually adored this guy.
Adored him. That's hard to square now.
It suggests this really strange dynamic of charm, influence, maybe manipulation. We still don't fully understand.
Now, despite all this access being right there, Wolff decided not to write a book about Epstein, even though Epstein himself asked him back in 2014.
Right. He initially thought Epstein was just a pain in the ass.
But what about after Epstein died? Why was it still, as he put it, extremely difficult to tackle the story then?
It seems to connect to how the media narrative shifted so heavily after his death. The focus became almost entirely on the victims.
Which is obviously crucial.
Absolutely. And Wolff is careful. He says he doesn't disagree with their tragic stories at all. But he points out that a lot of the information we have comes from depositions, legal filings, and that financial rewards, settlements, they inevitably became part of the story. Epstein was, quote, supporting the South Florida bar.
Meaning lawyers were making money.
Essentially. Wolff acknowledges Epstein had this fairly discreet or secret part of his life devoted to a serious fetishism abuse, but he felt the overall media story became too narrow, maybe too focused on just that aspect, making it hard to write the bigger, more complex picture he saw.
Interesting perspective. And then there's Ghislaine Maxwell's silence.
Yeah. Wolff presumes she took that 20-year sentence because she has much more to hide. Her full story is definitely still untold.
It feels like so much is untold.
Which leads to this broader point Wolff makes, this phenomenon. Most people who talk about Epstein now, really authoritatively, they don't know anything, they never met him, weren't there.
Just commenting from the outside.
Right. But the people who are in the inner circle he names Clinton, Larry Summers, as examples, they have said almost nothing. Scrupulously said nothing.
Why? To avoid getting dragged in.
Presumably, because, as Wolff says, anyone who was anybody knew Jeffrey Epstein certainly at a moment in time. Being linked became toxic.
Which raises that huge question, who actually knows things versus who's just speculating? And what does the silence of the insiders really tell us about, power?
Yeah. It brings to mind that chilling line from the New York Times after Epstein's arrest. They said something like, anyone who has shaken hands with Jeffrey Epstein in the last 20 years is worthy of suspicion.
Wow. That's a heavy statement.
It is. And Wolff concludes the whole Epstein story is basically Kennedy assassination level stuff.
Meaning
it's a conspiracy or at least a mystery that just feeds on itself. Because the people who might actually know the truth are silent, and the people who are talking often don't really know.
So it just keeps swirling. A self-perpetuating cycle of unanswered questions.
Exactly. The lack of clear answers from the inside just lets speculation run wild forever.
And that really wraps up our deep dive today into this Epstein enigma. We didn't just go over the known facts. We tried to peel back some layers using Wolff's perspective, how this guy could operate, the weird political links, that bizarre financial scheme.
It shows how even when there's an official story, like the DOJ statement, the reality underneath can be incredibly murky and elusive.
Yeah. Wolff's view really highlights that.
And maybe understanding this whole saga isn't about finding one neat answer. It's more about grappling with all the contradictions. And like Wolff pointed out, that stark difference in outcomes for Epstein and Trump.
Right. It forces you to look beyond the easy takes, question what's really going on beneath the surface of these official accounts.
Definitely.
So thinking about all this, what stands out to you from today's deep dive? Given how much we still don't know, and all these powerful people tangled up in Epstein's world, what does it all mean for things like transparency, accountability, when people like him can operate in the shadows for so long?
It's a lot to think about.
It is. We really encourage you to keep exploring these complex topics yourself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.